So I'm a flight attendant and I work for an international airline, so I do all international flights. I started flying 28 years ago when I was 24 and I'm now 52. And I would never have thought that I could have done this job for 28 years. And not only that, to actually say that I absolutely love it. I mean, that sounds crazy, I can say that, but I do. And in some ways it gets better and better, and that's because of the self-care that I brought into my life. I wouldn't have said that if I was living the way that I was before, in this constant drain and exhaustion. So that's been just life-changing for me, yeah. My average day getting prepared for work is getting up at 3:30 a.m, 4 a.m, getting ready over an hour or two, leaving for the airport, and I've got to leave quite a lot of space on time because I live a few hours from the airport. So then I'll have up to a 3-hour drive, get to the airport, have to get a bus to the around to the airport from the car park. I start work, that could be anywhere from 10 hours to 16 hours long, the shift work. And then I get into my hotel and get into my bed, and sometimes that can be 20 hours, sometimes even 24 hours if there's been delays. And anyone that flies a lot knows that there can be delays at times. So it's pretty amazing. It's quite a long time before I can get to bed. One of the biggest things that I get asked in my job is, how do you cope with jet lag? How do you do your job? And it's true, you wonder how you do, especially when I first started flying. And, you know, I did used to experience jet lag, but then I started to realise, because I fly so much, I'm going to be perpetually jet lagged. So I started to pull it apart for me, because I thought, how am I going to cope with this job if I've continually got jet lag? And for me, I just like to say I'm tired, you know, because it's not natural for our bodies to work shift work and to fly through the night, working sometimes up to 18 hours, sometimes 20 hours in one straight shift if there's been delays of some sort. So I've just sort of learnt to just say that, you know, my body's naturally tired from working really hard through the night, because I feel when you say the word jet lag, it comes with this whole sort of load with it, and just saying the word used to make me feel tired. So I've just learnt to rephrase it for myself. When I first started flying, I was addicted to looking at my watch. And that was because I was on very long flights and my body was so exhausted. So I would look at my watch and I go, oh, no wonder I'm tired, it's 2 a.m. at home. So there was always this sort of reaction to time and going, no, I should be in bed. This is crazy, what am I doing working at all through the night when everyone's sleeping? And so I decided that I would experiment and stop wearing my watch for a while and see what would happen. And it was quite interesting. I used to annoy everyone at first because I'd have to say, what's the time, what's the time? But then I found that it just allowed me to be more present with the work that I was doing, and also just being able to chat to people and just be more, you know, in the moment with everything, and not so attached to time and worrying about what my body should be doing or what I would usually do at home. So it allowed me to just be here. And the other thing was, you'd look at your watch and you'd notice that, my goodness, I've still got 10 hours to go on this flight and I'm feeling quite tired. So it sort of dragged it out a lot longer. So I found not having it at all was actually, yeah, it really worked. Yeah. For me anyway. Yeah. When I first started flying in my early 20s, you know, it's a big adjustment on the body and it took quite a while to get used to it. And often through the night flying, the only way I was coping with was very high carbohydrate food and a lot of sugar, you know, a lot of chocolate. Chocolate became my best friend because, you know, you started to feel that 2 a.m. slump and you've got to work another 5 hours. You know, a bit of chocolate helps, but of course with that comes, you know, a drain on the body as well. And then, of course, I used to have a lot of coffee as well. That's quite common. You know, for me in shift work, it became quite a common thing. But I was having trouble sleeping as well, which isn't a great recipe for being a flight attendant or anyone that works shift work. So again, I experimented. I thought over 20 years ago, I gave up coffee. I just went cold turkey because I was having quite trouble sleeping and I was starting to feel a bit jittery. And I thought, let's just give it up. Let's just which wasn't easy at the time. But then slowly, over a month or two, I noticed my sleep patterns changed and that I could actually fall to sleep a lot better instead of a lot of tossing and turning or looking at the clock, trying to get to sleep. And just also noticed sort of the energy levels seemed to be a bit more stable with that. And then slowly started to sort of work on my diet and try to tweak it a bit. I've tried many different diets over the years. I even went on a crazy raw food diet, thinking that was going to help me and give me better energy levels, but I ended up quite sick, so that's not the way to go. And so I've just refined it over the years and find eating a very light diet, and alcohol as well. That didn't, I did that for a little while and realised flying and alcohol doesn't mix well together. To eventually now I don't drink at all and feel a lot better without having that in my life. It was a very slow development and slow process into taking it into my life. But because of the job I did, I thought, oh, no way that's going to work for me. I do shift work, How can I be in bed at such and such a time every night? That doesn't work for me. And then I thought, well, I'll just give it a try, just so long as I can do that at home. And I have a very strong rhythm in my life of going to bed quite early, at 9 o'clock at night, and waking up quite early, feeling great. But whereas before, when I first started flying for many years, I had very, very strange cycles of sleeping, and I'd go to bed at midnight and sleep very long hours and wake up feeling like I'd been hit by a bus, as you say. And so that was just one small thing. So I started with the sleeping, and I noticed that then that helped me with the shift work. It was like the regular sleep patterns at home when I wasn't flying sort of really supported the body to do the shift work. So it was kind of like I was putting sleep into the bank so that when I had to withdraw from the bank, it was okay. Still, again, you get tired, that's part of it, but it wasn't like I had that total exhaustion. And so I really worked with that and just continue to do it all the time now and find it's just works really well for me. Yeah. And I used to sleep sometimes up to 15 hours after a shift work. 15, sometimes even 17 hours. One time I woke up and I was like, oh my goodness, where am I? And now I only need 8 hours or 9 hours, even though I've missed a night's sleep. So that's a great thing as well, that I'm not having to sleep very heavy and deep. That's a big change that I've noticed. I used to be by the end of the last few hours of a long flight, you'd start to kind of, be in the galley wanting to have a cup of tea and a chocolate bar, and you'd just be like, I can't wait for the flight to be over and get to the bed and, your hotel you're going to. Sure, I can be tired, but I find that I still like to engage with the passengers, and I find that's really helped me. It's not like you feel, wow, but I find just sort of being able to, chat to them, talk about what they're doing, or say goodbye to them, and just sort of engaging all the time, not sort of withdrawing. And I used to withdraw a lot on the flight, and especially after a flight. And that, I think, is more draining. It was a way that I was working. So I would go into my hotel room and, shut the doors and maybe not see people for a day because I felt quite drained. But I realised it's a way that I was working and reacting to people on board. But now none of that affects me. I've learnt to accept people a lot more and be much more open. Whereas before I was a little bit, don't come near me, don't come near me. Yeah. And that's actually really draining. Oh yes, you're on your feet for many, many hours, a lot of hours. And you've really got to pace yourself. And that's why learning about the stillness was really good, because when you're getting pulled in all those different directions, you're really tired, you get exhausted from that. But if I could sort of keep that centre within me solid, that really helped me doing all that sort of shift work. And when I'd get pulled by people, I sort of still had this centre. Wow. Exactly, that's what I felt. It's like, how can you be still at work as a flight attendant? It's all rush, rush, rush. You've got 100 people looking at you and you've got to go chicken or beef, chicken or beef. It's like, it's not possible. People are asking me for 20 things at a time. And you know, that was the drain. No wonder I had to go to my hotel room and just sort of shut down for 24 hours, because I was just pulled by everyone and everything around me. And so really learning to centre myself, and you know, it's taken me a very long time to start to even touch upon being still, but I can feel the benefits from it. You know, and even just doing the gentle breath meditation, which is an amazing support for anyone that does shift work, or for anyone in any job. But for me, if I couldn't sleep, if I could do that meditation to still my body and not have this kind of raciness and heightened nervous system, it just made such a difference to how I worked. Well, there's this saying that wherever you lay your hat is home, or something like that. So I've always said that. And I learnt very quickly to make the room mine, because you know, you're always in hotel rooms quite a lot of the time. And whether that be bringing your favourite slippers away, or something cosy for you that really warms the room. And you know, I bring my Epsom salts, and I have this lavender essential oil that I spray around the room in case there's any weird smells. And I have these beautiful healing eye pillows that I use that help the body to deeply rest as well, so that if I can't sleep before a shift work, at least I've really, you know, rested in bed. And I also have some little postcards and photos that I put around the room. And all these things just help to make the room more warm and feel like mine. And I really start to own it then, and connect with it, and hang my clothes up. And I used to just throw things everywhere. The room would become like a bomb had hit it. And I'd leave the room in a terrible mess, not even make the bed. And then I just went, well, I would never do that at home. So how come I do that when I'm away? So I started bringing the same level of care that I do in my own home into the hotel room, and started to sort of feel that, well, this is my home. Yeah, and it's made a big difference. So I feel that when you go to rest then, your body can settle more and deeply rest. I feel that's because I'm much more relaxed in my body about it, and just learning to go with the flow more, and accepting that anyone that travels a lot, you have to let go. You've got to accept that things are going to happen, and you know, anyone that works shift work, things are going to happen. Yeah, another shift that happened at work for me was really appreciating what I brought to work. You know, and I think we don't really appreciate the qualities that we bring. We just think we're ticking boxes when we're at work, but we all have this special quality we bring. And when I started to really appreciate that in myself, it made such a difference at work, to the point where it's like, okay, what can I do? Yeah, so that's really made a huge difference for me. There's a lot more that I can do now when I commit to my work, and I notice doing that at home, or you know, to my parenting or whatever. And so it sort of happens across the board in life, whereas I was sort of keeping it in one area of my life. Yeah. Absolutely, I'm more committed to my work than ever, because I feel that the more I've committed to it, the more I have, I don't know, just like I get more energy to do it. I know that sounds crazy, but if you told me that, I wouldn't have believed it. But it just sort of happened that I started to notice that. And then I went, oh wow, this is okay.